Welcome to a journey where the line between the living and the dead blurs, and the past echoes through the present in chilling whispers. Around the world, there are places so steeped in mystery and tragedy that they seem to trap the souls of those who once walked their grounds. Today, we will uncover the 20 most haunted places in the world, each with its own dark history and tales of restless spirits. From abandoned castles to shadowy forests, these locations have fascinated and terrified visitors for centuries. Are you ready to step into the unknown, to discover what lies beyond the veil? Buckle up, because the stories you're about to hear will leave you questioning the world you thought you knew. 1. Aokigahara Forest, Japan. Before its sinister reputation, Aokigahara was revered as a serene and sacred place. The forest, rich in volcanic soil from Mount Fuji, supported lush vegetation and was a haven for those seeking tranquility. Locals often visited for nature walks and picnics, enchanted by the forest's natural beauty and the mythological ties it held with Japanese folklore. The forest's transformation began centuries ago when it became linked to the macabre practice of ubasute, abandoning the elderly during times of famine. These acts were said to leave restless spirits trapped in the forest. In modern times, Aokigahara gained notoriety as a site for suicides, with dozens of people ending their lives there each year. Despite efforts to destigmatize the area, the forest remains a magnet for despair. Now Aokigahara is eerily silent. The density of the trees absorbs sound, creating a stifling, oppressive atmosphere. Hikers report hearing whispers, cries, and even phantom footsteps. Warning signs in Japanese and English urge visitors to reconsider their actions, but the forest's reputation persists. 2. Poveglia Island, Italy. Poveglia was once a thriving Venetian outpost, home to fishermen and traders. The island flourished with vibrant markets and close-knit communities. Its strategic location in the Venetian lagoon made it a vital hub for commerce and communication. In 1348, the Black Death arrived in Venice, and Poveglia became a quarantine station. Thousands of plague victims were transported to the island where they succumbed to the disease. Their bodies were burned in massive pits, with some historians estimating that over 600 people perished there. Centuries later, Poveglia housed a psychiatric hospital, infamous for inhumane treatments, including lobotomies. A deranged doctor allegedly threw himself from the bell tower, driven mad by the spirits of his victims. Abandoned and overgrown, Poveglia is off limits to the public. Locals and tourists alike report feelings of dread near the island. Fishermen claim their nets often snag on human remains, and ghostly apparitions are said to wander its ruins. Paranormal investigators have recorded chilling sounds, from screams to disembodied whispers. 3. Château de Brissac, France. Constructed in the 11th century, Château de Brissac was originally a stronghold for French nobility. Over the years, it transformed into a luxurious estate known for its grand architecture and lavish parties. The castle was a symbol of elegance and refinement, attracting aristocrats from across Europe. The castle's haunting began with a scandalous affair. Charlotte de Brissac, wife of the Duke of Brissac, was caught with her lover in a clandestine embrace. Enraged, the Duke murdered them both in a fit of passion. Since that day, Charlotte's spirit has roamed the castle, her mournful cries echoing through its halls. Visitors report seeing her spectral figure, her decaying face hidden behind a green veil. Today, the chateau is a tourist attraction, but its haunted reputation lingers. Guests report cold spots, inexplicable sounds, and the sensation of being watched. Some even claim to have seen the Green Lady in mirrors or windows, her face a grotesque reminder of her violent end. 4. Bangara Fort, India. Once a bustling city, Bangarad was established in the 17th century by Bhagwant Das, a ruler of Amber. The fort and its surroundings were known for their architectural splendor and vibrant bazaars. It was a hub of culture, trade, and prosperity, with lush gardens and serene temples. Legend tells of a sorcerer who fell in love with Princess Ratnavati. Using dark magic, he tried to enchant her into loving him. The princess saw through his ploy and turned the spell back on him, leading to his death. In his dying breath, the sorcerer cursed the fort and its inhabitants. Soon after, a war devastated the city, leaving it abandoned. The fort is a desolate ruin with an air of foreboding. The Archaeological Survey of India has banned entry after sunset, citing paranormal activity. Visitors report hearing disembodied voices, laughter, and screams. Some claim to see shadowy figures moving through the ruins, while others feel as though they're being followed. 5. The Tower of London, England. Constructed by William the Conqueror in 1078, the Tower of London served as a royal residence, treasury, and fortress. It was a symbol of power and grandeur, its imposing walls designed to protect and intimidate. For centuries, it bustled with life, hosting banquets, ceremonies, and the everyday lives of England's nobility. The tower's descent into infamy began when it became a prison for political adversaries, traitors, and royal figures. Anne Boleyn, the second wife of King Henry VIII, was executed here in 1536, and her spirit is said to roam the grounds with her head tucked under her arm. The princes in the tower, Edward V and his brother Richard, disappeared within its walls, presumed murdered. The spectral forms have been reported in the White Tower. Today, the Tower of London is a major tourist attraction, but its dark reputation lingers. Visitors and guards report sightings of ghostly figures, including Anne Boleyn, Lady Jane Grey, and even a phantom bear. Chilling moans and screams often echo through the halls, adding to the fortress's ominous aura. 6. The Island of Dolls, Mexico. In the 1950s, Don Julian Santana Barrera lived on this isolated island in Xochimilco's canals. It was an ordinary piece of land, surrounded by lush vegetation and serene waters. Don Julian enjoyed the solitude and lived a quiet, peaceful life as a farmer. One day, he discovered the body of a young girl who had drowned near the island. Shortly afterward, he found a doll floating in the water and hung it on a tree as a tribute to her spirit. Over time, he became convinced that her ghost haunted him. To appease her, he began collecting and hanging more dolls, many of which he found discarded in the canals. The island is now covered with hundreds of decaying dolls, their lifeless eyes and missing limbs creating an eerie atmosphere. Visitors claim to hear whispers, giggles, and even see the dolls move their heads or limbs. The legend of Don Julian's obsession and his mysterious death in the same spot where the girl drowned continues to draw thrill-seekers and paranormal enthusiasts. 7. Eastern State Penitentiary, USA. Built in 1829 in Philadelphia, the Eastern State Penitentiary was designed to reform inmates through solitary confinement. It was an innovative approach to incarceration, emphasizing rehabilitation over punishment. For decades, the prison housed some of the nation's most dangerous criminals, including Al Capone. The isolation proved torturous for inmates, leading to mental breakdowns, hallucinations, and suicides. Accounts of brutal punishments, such as the iron gag, further stained the penitentiary's history. By the time it closed in 1971, the facility had become a decayed and haunted relic of its former self. Visitors report shadowy figures darting through corridors, ghostly whispers echoing in empty cells, and an overwhelming sense of dread. Cell Block 12 is particularly notorious for paranormal activity, with many claiming to see full-bodied apparitions. Al Capone's cell is also said to be haunted by one of his victims. 8. Edinburgh Castle, Scotland. Perched atop Castle Rock, Edinburgh Castle has stood as a symbol of Scotland's resilience and history since at least the 12th century. It was home to kings, queens, and soldiers, its halls echoing with tales of bravery and splendor. Its bloody history includes battles, executions, and imprisonment. Mary, Queen of Scots, gave birth to James VI here under tense conditions. The castle is rumored to be haunted by the spirits of soldiers, prisoners, and even a headless drummer who warns of impending danger. Tourists and paranormal investigators report unexplained phenomena, including cold spots, sudden feelings of dread, and apparitions in period clothing. The dungeons, where countless prisoners suffered and died, are especially notorious. 9. Oia Forest, Romania. Located near Cluj-Napoca, this forest is often called the Bermuda Triangle of Romania. Legends date back centuries, with stories of mysterious disappearances and strange occurrences in its twisted, otherworldly trees. The forest gained worldwide attention when a shepherd and his flock vanished without a trace. In the 1960s, UFO sightings were reported, with photos showing glowing orbs above the forest. Locals speak of ghostly figures, sudden nausea, and strange electronic malfunctions. Visitors frequently report feeling disoriented or uneasy, and some claim to see ghostly apparitions or hear whispers. A circular clearing in the forest, devoid of vegetation, is thought to be a portal to another realm. 10. Banff Springs Hotel, Canada. Built in 1888 in Alberta, Canada, Banff Springs Hotel was designed as a luxurious retreat for wealthy travelers. Nestled in the Canadian Rockies, it offered breathtaking views and unmatched elegance, becoming a symbol of opulence and comfort. Despite its grandeur, the hotel hides chilling secrets. One infamous tale involves a bride who tragically fell down the staircase on her wedding day. Some say her dress caught fire from a candle, causing her to panic and tumble to her death. Another involves room 873, where an entire family was murdered. Though the room has since been sealed off, guests report ghostly activity in the hallway outside it. The ghost bride is a well-known apparition seen dancing in the ballroom or wandering the grand staircase. Guests and staff have also reported phantom bellhops and disembodied voices in the corridors. Despite its eerie reputation, the hotel remains a popular tourist destination. 11. The Ancient Ram Inn, England. Nestled in the quaint village of Watton-under-Edge in Gloucestershire, England, the Ancient Ram Inn was constructed in 1145. Originally built as a residence for masons and workers constructing the nearby St. Mary's Church, it served a practical and peaceful purpose. Over the centuries, the inn became a family home and a local gathering spot. Its location on a ley line, believed to connect ancient spiritual sites, was once considered a blessing, thought to bring positive energy. The tranquility of the ancient Ram Inn was disrupted as stories of violence, death, and the supernatural began to emerge. According to local lore, the inn was constructed atop an ancient pagan burial ground, angering the spirits of those interred. During the 1500s, it became entangled in England's notorious witch trials. A woman accused of witchcraft is said to have sought refuge at the inn, but was captured and burned alive. Her spirit, known as the witch's ghost, is believed to roam the property. Adding to the inn's sinister reputation are reports of satanic rituals that may have taken place within its walls. These rituals supposedly summoned dark entities, with the most feared being a demonic presence in the attic. Over the centuries, guests and owners alike have reported sightings of shadowy figures, disembodied voices, and objects moving inexplicably. Today, the ancient Ram Inn stands as a chilling reminder of its dark history. Abandoned but preserved, it is a magnet for paranormal enthusiasts and investigators. Visitors report an oppressive atmosphere, sudden temperature drops, and a sense of being watched. Tours are occasionally offered, but few dare to stay the night. 12. Old Changi Hospital, Singapore. Built in 1935, Old Changi Hospital was initially designed to provide top-notch medical care for British military personnel stationed in Singapore. With its strategic location overlooking the Johor Strait, the hospital boasted state-of-the-art facilities and was considered a beacon of modern medicine in the region. During peacetime, the halls were filled with the sounds of recovery, laughter, and hope. The hospital's tranquil purpose was upended during World War II when the Japanese invaded Singapore. Repurposed as a detention and torture facility by the Japanese secret police, the Kempei Tai, its halls bore witness to unspeakable atrocities. Prisoners of war and suspected rebels were subjected to brutal interrogations, many of which ended in death. After the war, the hospital resumed its medical duties, but reports of paranormal activity began to surface. Patients and staff alike claimed to hear ghostly footsteps and chilling screams echoing through the wards. The most infamous apparition is that of a faceless woman in a white dress, thought to be a nurse or patient who met a tragic end. Abandoned since 1997, Old Changi Hospital now lies in ruins, its once bustling halls overtaken by decay and silence. Despite being closed to the public, it remains a popular site for paranormal investigators and thrill seekers. Its eerie reputation endures, with countless reports of ghostly soldiers, shadowy figures, and unexplained noises. 13. The Queen Mary, California, USA. Launched in 1936, the RMS Queen Mary was a marvel of luxury and engineering. The ocean liner offered extravagant accommodations, hosting celebrities, dignitaries, and wealthy travelers on transatlantic voyages. Known for its Art Deco interiors and impeccable service, the ship represented the height of sophistication and was celebrated as a jewel of maritime design. During World War II, the Queen Mary was repurposed as a troop transport ship, earning the nickname the Grey Ghost due to its drab camouflage. Tragedy struck in 1942 when the Queen Mary accidentally collided with the HMS Curaçao, slicing the smaller ship in two and causing the deaths of over 300 sailors. Post-war, the Queen Mary resumed its role as a passenger liner, but carried with it an aura of lingering sorrow. Over the decades, more than 50 deaths have occurred aboard, including crew members and passengers. Paranormal activity has been reported in nearly every corner of the ship. The most famous hauntings include the Lady in White, a spectral figure seen in the ballroom, and the ghost of a young girl spotted near the pool. Unexplained footsteps, slamming doors, and cold spots are commonly experienced by visitors. Permanently docked in Long Beach, California, the Queen Mary now operates as a floating hotel and museum. It offers ghost tours that delve into its haunted history, attracting paranormal enthusiasts from around the world. While beautifully preserved, the ship's ghostly reputation continues to grow. 14. Leap Castle, Ireland. Leap Castle, located in County Offaly, Ireland, was built in the late 15th century by the O'Bannon clan. Initially a stronghold, it was a symbol of power and security for its inhabitants. Surrounded by lush greenery, it hosted feasts, celebrations, and political gatherings. Stems of peaceful existence were shattered by violent clan feuds and betrayals. One of its most infamous tales involved the Bloody Chapel, where a brother murdered his sibling, a priest, during a mass. The castle's dungeons revealed even darker secrets. Bones of prisoners and victims were found, along with spikes used for torture. Adding to its eerie reputation is the Elemental, a sinister entity described as a shadowy figure with a nauseating stench. Believed to have been summoned during occult rituals, the Elemental is said to stalk the castle's halls, feeding off negative energy. Restoration efforts have brought parts of Leap Castle back to life, but its haunted reputation remains intact. Paranormal investigators flock to the site, and visitors report hearing ghostly chants and feeling oppressive energy in certain areas. 15. The Stanley Hotel, Colorado, USA. Built in 1909 by Freeland Stanley, the Stanley Hotel was a luxurious retreat for wealthy Easterners seeking the crisp mountain air of Estes Park, Colorado. Known for its grand architecture and stunning views of the Rockies, it quickly became a symbol of elegance and comfort. The hotel's peaceful reputation took a turn when guests began reporting ghostly encounters. One of the most famous spirits is that of Flora Stanley, Freeland's wife, who is said to play the piano in the ballroom. Room 217 gained notoriety after Stephen King stayed there and was inspired to write The Shining, and no bummer, guests in the room report moving objects, flickering lights, and spectral figures. The Stanley Hotel thrives as both a luxury destination and a paranormal hotspot. It offers ghost tours and even hosts paranormal investigations. The hotel's haunted reputation has become part of its charm, drawing visitors from around the globe. 16. Huska Castle, Czech Republic. Constructed in the 13th century by Ottokar II of Bohemia, Huska Castle was built in a remote area with no strategic or residential value. Unlike typical castles, it lacked fortifications, water sources, or proximity to trade routes. Its original purpose remains unclear, though local folklore claims it was erected to seal a deep, bottomless pit that many believed to be a gateway to hell. Before the castle, the area was a serene forest with a sense of mystery, attracting pilgrims seeking solace. Legend has it that the pit beneath Huska Castle emitted foul odors and strange sounds, with locals reporting sightings of winged, demonic creatures. When the castle was built, prisoners condemned to death were offered pardons if they agreed to be lowered into the pit to investigate. The first man to descend screamed in terror and was pulled up, claiming to have seen visions of torment and infernal creatures. Over the centuries, reports of strange occurrences grew. Residents and visitors alike described ghostly apparitions, disembodied screams, and unshakable feelings of dread. In the 20th century, during Nazi occupation, the castle was reportedly used for occult experiments, further amplifying its sinister reputation. Huska Castle is now a tourist attraction, drawing visitors intrigued by its eerie legends. While largely preserved, its interior exudes an oppressive atmosphere. Guided tours share its chilling history, and paranormal investigators frequently report unusual activity, including shadowy figures and cold spots near the supposed gateway. 17. Port Arthur, Tasmania, Australia. Established in 1833 as a penal settlement, Port Arthur was intended to rehabilitate convicts through hard labor and discipline. Surrounded by dense forests and rough seas, the settlement was designed to prevent escape. Initially, it thrived as a self-sustaining community, with convicts contributing to industries like shipbuilding and agriculture. The harsh conditions, frequent floggings, and solitary confinement rooms led to immense suffering and despair among the inmates. The most notorious location was the separate prison, where prisoners were isolated in tiny cells and forbidden from speaking. Many descended into madness, and suicides were common. In 1996, Port Arthur was the site of a mass shooting, one of Australia's darkest days. This tragic event compounded its already grim reputation. Reports of ghostly wardens, spectral prisoners, and unexplained voices are widespread, being a hotspot for activity. Port Arthur is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site and a popular tourist destination. Its ruins and preserved buildings are open for exploration, with night tours focusing on its haunted past. Visitors often describe cold sensations, inexplicable whispers, and fleeting apparitions. 18. Alcatraz Prison, California, USA. Opened in 1934, Alcatraz was designed as a high-security prison to house America's most dangerous criminals. Located on an isolated island in San Francisco Bay, it was deemed inescapable. Initially, it functioned efficiently, providing humane conditions for inmates like Al Capone and Machine Gun Kelly. Despite its strict security, Alcatraz was plagued by violence, including riots and murders. In 1946, the infamous Battle of Alcatraz left several inmates and guards dead, further darkening its history. Inmates frequently reported ghostly encounters, claiming to hear whispers, moans, and footsteps in empty corridors. Cell 14D, used for solitary confinement, is considered the most haunted, with reports of chilling cold spots and ghostly figures. Since its closure in 1963, Alcatraz has become a national park and tourist attraction. The decaying prison walls and isolated location amplify its eerie atmosphere. Visitors often report feeling watched, and paranormal investigators have captured unexplained sounds and sightings. 19. St. Augustine Lighthouse, Florida, USA. Built in 1874, the St. Augustine Lighthouse stands tall on the shores of Anastasia Island, Florida, as a beacon for ships navigating the treacherous coastline. In its early days, it was a symbol of safety and guidance, ensuring the passage of countless vessels and their crews. The lighthouse keepers and their families lived on site, maintaining the light while building a close-knit community. It was a place of routine, duty, and serenity, deeply tied to the maritime history of the region. The lighthouse's haunting history began with tragedy. During its construction, 3 young girls, the daughters of a workman, were playing on a supply cart that ran along the construction rails. The cart broke loose, plunging into the water and trapping the children beneath. Only one of the girls survived, and the grief left an indelible mark on the site. Years later, other incidents added to its haunted reputation. A lighthouse keeper fell to his death while painting the tower, and visitors and staff have reported seeing his apparition wandering the grounds. One of the most famous spirits is thought to be that of one of the drowned girls. Witnesses claim to hear her laughter echoing through the stairwell, or to see her in a blue dress standing at the top of the tower before disappearing. The eerie activity doesn't end there. Doors have been seen opening and closing on their own. Unexplained footsteps echo in the stairwell, and the scent of cigar smoke, thought to belong to a former keeper, is sometimes detected in the watchroom. Paranormal investigators have recorded voices, shadows, and even disembodied screams within the lighthouse and keeper's house. The St. Augustine Lighthouse now serves as a museum dedicated to maritime history, offering guided tours that include tales of its ghostly past. Nighttime ghost tours are especially popular, drawing visitors hoping to glimpse one of its many reported spirits. Despite the spectral activity, the lighthouse remains beautifully preserved, with its light still shining as a reminder of its storied history. 20. Catacombs of Paris, France. In the late 18th century, the catacombs of Paris were created to address overcrowding in city cemeteries. Bones were carefully relocated to this underground ossuary, turning miles of tunnels into a macabre resting place for over 6 million people. Initially, the project was viewed as a pragmatic solution and a work of art, with skulls and bones arranged in intricate patterns. As the remains of the dead filled the tunnels, stories of restless spirits began to emerge. Visitors have reported hearing whispers, footsteps, and distant wails. Some explorers claim to feel an invisible force guiding or chasing them deeper into the labyrinth. The most chilling tale is of those who became lost in the tunnels, only to be found dead years later. A small section of the catacombs is open to the public, drawing tourists and paranormal enthusiasts. The atmosphere is oppressive, with dim lighting and a palpable sense of unease. Many believe the spirits of those buried there still linger, guarding their final resting place. And there you have it, 20 of the most haunted places in the world, each shrouded in its own mystery and filled with its own echoes of the past. Whether it's the sorrowful wails of betrayed lovers, the ominous presence of ancient curses, or the inexplicable whispers from shadowy corners, these places remind us that some histories refuse to be forgotten. Which of these haunted locations sent chills down your spine? Would you dare to visit any of them? Or perhaps you've already encountered something unexplainable. Share your thoughts and stories in the comments below. We'd love to hear them. Thank you for joining us on this spine-chilling adventure. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more mysteries that defy explanation. Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, and remember, some doors are better left unopened.